Call to order the work session for September 10th. General business. We will discuss the Pinehurst Development Ordinance Update Consultative Interview Process. Please, Mr. Cameron.
Alex, sorry, my mouse is not working, so if you want to scroll down, you can use that one there.
Perfect. Okay, so kind of continuing some of the discussion with the last agenda item under the regular work session, sort of a pretty big project here. We got started with the RFQ being issued in July. We received a total of 4 responses to the request for qualifications that were sent. That copy of the final RFQ was included in the agenda packet, as well as those 4 responses that we received. So, staff has been able to go through those responses, and we're kind of waiting for this next opportunity with the Village Council, with just one meeting being scheduled in the month of August, to discuss the next steps. So staff would recommend that Village Council consider interviewing all 4 of those teams that submitted the responses to the request for qualifications. And so we'd like to leave this work session with the goal accomplished of having some tentative dates and times to schedule some interviews. And of course, once we get that fully ironed out, I'll work with Shannon and the consultants to make sure proper notices are made and schedules are aligned. Also, we have facilitated for further discussion, no action item needed or conference yet from council tonight, but some potential questions to think over as sort of as a primer for council to consider when we get to those interviews. So with that, I mean, that's kind of a brief introduction to the agenda item. We would like to, in order to kind of stay on task, see if we can, if at all possible, have those interviews scheduled by the end of the month. If there's a little bleed over into October, I think that we can still kind of stay on process, on target. The next steps, we believe, would be, after having ability to have the interview with the consultants, is that village staff and village council can confer, decide who we may want to discuss a little bit further with, and have maybe the potential of having a full proposal, so we have an idea, they have a better understanding of what our desires with the project are and what kind of deliverables they can give us. Maybe if there's any add-ons or bells and whistles we want to consider that are maybe related. With the RFQ, we did talk about some other related codes, such as a municipal code. I think we could probably look at some items with the engineering standards and specifications manual as well. So while we're going through a robust project, if we can utilize the consultants to help us make some necessary fixes, because those documents and controlling what the PDO does, there's a lot of bleed over there with those regulatory documents as well. But after we get a proposal, then the next step would be to enter into contract negotiations with the consultant we would hope to get the project fully kicked off and started with.
So to reiterate, if we could pick a date, that would be the number 1 priority of this, and then if we want to interview all 4, which would be our recommendation.
So we do those on one day? Is that what
I think we could probably do 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon after lunch.
Well, it depends. I mean, some of these people are going to fly in from a distance.
Most of the groups are pretty local, but there will be travel. So what we'd like to do, again, is have tentative date leaving here tonight, and then
Okay.
I can work with the consultants to make sure that that works on their end, and that we have the appropriate space here to invite them in and give them the opportunity to.
Is there
to know.
anything in particular you could share with us as to what made these 4 worthy of going to the next step?
How many proposals did you receive?
That's because those are the 4 that we received.
Okay.
They were the 4 that wanted the job.
So
But all
everybody,
4 are reputable firms.
I understand.
Yeah.
But
Going through the submittals, I would have a tough time pointing to a clear, definitive favorite. There may be some that demonstrated a little bit more of relevant experience, but with the interview process, maybe we can understand better potentially a fit with who we'd like to work with, and maybe they can answer.
have any or did all of these 4 do prior work for the Village of Pinehurst?
None with these type of projects. Some of the firms, you know, we've seen because they are local that they've done. It's a big firm, so there are different divisions within each firm. So no direct experience or working with any of the personnel that have been included, but the firms are those that are knowledgeable in the state of North Carolina.
I felt, it's my opinion, that I could identify two based primarily on experience as they quoted in North Carolina that stood above the other two, not to suggest any of the four are not capable of doing this work. They're some of the very large firms. How set are you on interviewing all four? Or if it were the sense of council, and no one else may agree with me, would you be amenable to interviewing less than four?
I mean, it's ultimately up to council, but I think it would be more prudent, or it would be more beneficial if we were to hear from all four. Relevant experiences, but one scoring, you know, that you may want to apply based on the firm. It may be a different level of experience that the personnel has, even though they may not have a specific project, but maybe they have, for instance, some of the personnel have sat in the position that I'm in. You know, I would really appreciate having that knowledge or that experience behind them. Other things may be they may have a more creative approach. Maybe we like their community engagement process a little bit differently than just because they've had a relevant project. Maybe we're just a little bit different than that jurisdiction they worked with.
My thought, and it's just speaking for myself, was that given the specific requirements under 160D, if your lead person on the project has only done things in another state and did not list on, I'm not sure, given the strength of other people, I would tend to prefer the other people. Because I think that but maybe that's not the right way to look at this. I don't know.
I think that's not a bad way to look at it. Alternatively, staff could interview all four and recommend two for council to interview. When we looked at it, thought that there were four qualified, we thought that council would want to just interview all four. If that's not the case, we could trim it down ourselves.
Jack, do you have a thought here?
Well, I read them all in detail. In fact, I even went to many of the reference sites and looked at the UDOs that they have developed, a couple of them at least. First of all, there are four pretty good firms, no doubt about it. I can understand why you picked out these four. I do have a couple that I felt were better than, but I think it's based upon just the minimum information, if you will. And I think an interview process could be useful, to tell you the truth, to understand a little better. As long as the interview process, because we want to do four, it doesn't drag it out. I mean, if doing two or whatever makes it much faster, then I'm for that. But I'm not sure that scheduling four would be any worse than scheduling two, to tell you the truth. And I'd like to hear from all of them, although I do have a favorite at this point in time.
Alice, you touched on something which I had not anticipated, and maybe for my benefit and others, can you clarify beyond once the final product is available and needs to be presented to the public, how you see the public involvement piece of this in the development?
So typically there are multiple ways that groups can approach that. And it's going to be ultimately our decision when we iron out the details of the contract and what we expect. But typically there is, you know, it's kind of a smaller scale than what some of you may have experienced with small area plans and with the 2019 comprehensive plan. You have like public workshops. There's also what they call like grassroots type events where they'll get out into the public. Say if we have maybe a Live After 5 is not the most appropriate event, but where there's different snapshots of the community out there and they can have a tent set up and, you know, talk to us. You know, there's little exercises that they can do in order to try to solicit some of that community feedback. There's forums like we can have Village Hall open where we'd have, you know, an event advertised where folks can come and have feedback, and that's ahead of that draft document that they would ultimately unveil to staff first, and then however we want to see that go forward before a public unveiling before it goes to the public hearing for consideration.
Is this
Mike,
on
can I comment on that briefly? Having gone down this road a number of different times with different consultants in the village. I really am a little careful about overdoing the public involvement, to be honest with you. I don't want to go down the Planapalooza route to a great extent where we bunch it with a bunch of stickers and so forth, because this is a development that's significantly different from a library needs analysis or even a small area plan or even the comprehensive plan, all of which we went sort of down that route. I think this is a little different, and I think there should be community involvement, particularly those stakeholders in the community, such as developers and or builders or other people that have a great interest, property owners. But I don't want to overdo, well, this is probably too far down the road. I don't want to overdo the community involvement thing to the detriment of, getting the job done.
It's a very, the outcome is a document that is fairly technical. There's quite a bit of expertise, believe it or not, that goes into administering these type regulatory documents. So the robust interaction will be that of, the appropriate village staff whenever you hear the vision, and then you have to, as this group has before looked at code language and getting something adopted, you have to consider things from a whole host of different angles.
Well, this was my thought, and I'm glad to hear Jack mention Planapalooza in particular, or other things where people put stickers on ideas. This is a fairly technical exercise. I wish more people were involved in village government, but right now we have 3 people over the age of 7 sitting here. I asked Shannon if we have statistics on how many people view our sessions, and she thought on average might be 40 or 50. And I don't know how many of the people who are going to come from the public, if they're not developers or have some other related expertise, are going to provide material input, meaningful input into what is, I think, a pretty technical. I would have difficulty providing meaningful input from the technical standpoint.
But there are some aspects that, in my opinion, do require public input. If we're going to be talking about the zoning map in particular, talking about potential zoning changes and or changing the district definitions or what's allowed in districts and so forth, that in my opinion, requires extensive community input.
And you could be thinking about, too, other aspects or input or feedback you may want for the community. Could be accessibility, access, ease of use, things of that you might not have to have the technical.
But people started mentioning what I will describe as multimodal tram. Well, the public clearly can have input into that. I'm not against it. I just think, to Jack's point, it can't be crazy large.
And I think that scope would be defined on what the intent for that.
And I agree with that.
Let me advance a sort of a tactical way to perhaps handle this, because I'm not fond of the sticker Lollapalooza Wayne either. I don't put any credence into that. But we know we have several bodies made up of our residents. We have the Planning and Zoning group. We have the Historic Preservation Commission. We have the Neighborhood Advisory Council, and we got 1 or 2 others. My point is, those are people who have already stepped up and have shown voluntarily their additional interest in our government and what goes on. So I would want to be sure that those groups are available or have a chance to have some exchange, and maybe it's a one session with all of them in this process. But to me, and if there are other citizens that want to jump in, that's fine too. But I think that's our, let's face it, that is our community leadership to a large degree. And those are the people who I would most want to see have some initial access to this process.
Yeah, no, I agree. We may be getting a little too far down into the weeds here at this stage in the game. The question is now is, these 4 firms, I think they're all quality firms. Do we want to interview all 4, or do we need to cull it down at this point in time? I wouldn't be against interviewing 4 as long as it doesn't drag it out.
I'm fine with interviewing all 4 if we can find a time to do it, and we probably can.
If we can do it in a day, I guess what
If we can
difference
do it
does
in
it
2
make? We're all
days or
setting
something.
aside a day to do it, and so let's do it.
So let me ask a question, kind of a process question. What will staff's interaction through this process be? In other words, we've been given now the questions, so hopefully you all will be there for the interviews, participating in the interviews?
Really, the interview should be with council and the consultants team, but we'll certainly be there to help and facilitate. We obviously, arguably, I don't know anyone that may have more stake in the outcome than say me and my staff. You know, this is our lifeblood, right? So yes, we're definitely going to be participants, but not to the level of actually engaging too much. There might be an opportunity for us to ask a question, to expand on an answer, or to kind of pass the ball, if you will, on some thoughts that council may have as far as what they feel that team could provide to us.
You know, I think we're going to be relying on staff to some extent to provide guidance on this effort.
And as the
And by the
process
way,
goes,
I
there'll
think
be weekly check-ins with
Right.
staff and the consultants, and then it'll be a lot of,
right.
it'll be very involved on our end.
The questions you gave us, in my opinion, are the questions you want to ask.
It's a
We
conversation.
will ask those for you.
Well, there's
That's the way I read it.
I kind of approach it a little bit differently, or more, I guess, more tactical in there. We're the leadership body for the staff, okay? We're the governing body for that. When I've had subordinates kick something up to me saying, hey, this is what I'm thinking, but I want your help, my response has always been, sure, let me help you, okay? Because I'm being asked to step in to assist a subordinate who doesn't want to make a decision on there, or thinks it's too close to make a decision, or wants the senior level decision maker in there. Do I support it? Absolutely, because of what I just said. We have been asked to step in. Now, other questions on there. So, input from the folks. We have a system that we have, people can give input, whether public comments, whether talking directly to the representatives they've elected, or whether we ask a question in the interview saying, hey, how do you get input from these various committees or from the public, and then it's a question we look at there. For the point that's being brought up as to some staff being involved in there, or the village manager being involved in there, we can discuss that. That's really down in the weeds. But I'm going to tell you my initial gestalt on there is that, yes, it's highly technical, and I would prefer, this is initial reaction, I would prefer to have Alex and Doug on the interview panel with us, okay?
Absolutely.
And so they're able to ask the questions. It's not a matter of, hey, that kind of stuff, and whispering in the back on there what's going on. So I got no problem discussing the tactical stuff on how we execute it. Right now, the decision is, we're going to interview all four of them. Jeff Morgan says yes. Look for a date. Happy to work with you all.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm fine with interviewing all four. Does anyone not want to interview all four? Let's try to figure that out. Four, okay.
And
So we're settled on four.
if it helps, I can send out a survey where everyone can put in their availability that last week of September, and maybe that first week of
I was
October.
gonna try to help right now.
If you want to try it, that's
I mean,
fine.
this guy looks anxious. I don't want Alex to just, run away from here.
But I was planning on taking a lot of my vacation leave in the next coming months.
Well, we haven't adopted that recommendation yet, so just hold on.
So just so we know, the 26th, I have heard from one of the groups, because I asked them to give me some preliminary availability, that they would not be available on the 26th. So that's the last Thursday of the month.
I can give you 4 dates that I'm available.
That week would be the week I would like to focus on, date aside.
Okay, I'm okay on the 20th, and I'm okay on the 30th of this month. I mean, I can't help it. We've got.
I'm good. Anytime the last 2 weeks, anytime. Anytime, any day.
This is a whole day, is what we're really talking about, right?
Or two.
If we're
Or
going to
it
break
could
it
be
up.
an afternoon and a morning, or two
2
separate
mornings,
days.
2
Yeah.
afternoons.
Oh, well, that's different. The dates I'm just giving you are fine for me for the whole day. 9:20 or 9:30. If I need to go.
We might want to do the email thing.
Yeah.
There's going to be a
That's
variety
fine.
of
I just
conflicts.
was trying to move it along.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
We know the last week and that Monday are where we can maybe potentially start to look, or that third week.
Or the first week in October.
First week in October,
Yeah,
I'm
but-
out of the country.
Okay. I think let's hit the email here and see if we can work through this, because there's going to be conflicts we
Yeah.
got to work through. So
Okay,
Not
so we
worth
have a
timing.
plan.
Yeah, real quick, we have the questions that we have drafted up. Maybe we can also just do that by email. We'll send that out. If you have comments on that, send it to us and we can
Okay.
Or
compile
if
them.
you
and-
see if there are
finalized.
redundancies there, well, we can pare those back a little bit too, if there's,
Realistically, what do we think the earliest date we could look at is? Today's the 10th.
I would say the week of the 23rd, because
that-
they're going to
that
have to,
third week.
some of them are going to get flights or,
Week of the 23rd?
yeah, Monday the 23rd, in 2 weeks.
I'm good anytime. I'm really,
Oh, right.
I want to spend this
Week of the
money as
next
soon as
council meeting,
possible.
yes, okay, I agree.
So, all right, you'll send out a calendar options and we'll see what we can do. And we're gonna do it in one day, not 2 days. Or you're gonna provide that option of 2 mornings. in a
I'll
row.
see if, I'll have afternoon and morning, and you can tell me which ones are available.
Okay. I'm fine. Anything else on this topic? Nope, that's it.
And by the way, Alex, I agree with you that in my evaluation, people who have experience in planning can be a huge benefit. They're likely to catch things that a lawyer might write that you would say, well, it just doesn't help me. That's not how it works.
Okay. We'll go to item B, discuss design of new Given Memorial Library.
So maybe a couple weeks ago, we sent out the revised plans that the architects had been working on based on our feedback at the last meeting. And I think we feel pretty comfortable with those, but this is kind of a last chance. Are we all on the same page before they hit the, sending to construction documents?
Let's see, slide it up there. Okay. I had, I guess, one item regarding the design, and then the rest were more sort of timing things. What is missing from what was in earlier drawings was a visual access for disabled and handicapped. In the previous drawings, they had that sort of rampy thing, and I think from the standpoint of the disabled community, that for them to see as they approach a building, how to get into it, so they can make their plans as they're driving or being brought into the onto the campus. Which way do I go here? That makes it easy for me to enter the library. So that's the only thing that I thought is missing from this that was in the earlier ones, and maybe it's can be added again.
Yeah, so let me address that. And Shannon, it's not the mouse. I think I'm too far away from that computer, so it won't reach that far, the wireless. Anyway, so if you don't mind just going down. So in the bottom right corner, right, you can see, it's hard to tell on this, but that's the patio, and in the bottom right, there is a lift there.
If you look at the stairs and then go straight up, there's a little
That
square.
is the lift.
Yeah.
And then if you scroll down like 4 to the last picture, I think it has a decent picture of what that looks like.
You can see it, and you can also see that the handicap spaces are adjacent.
Is that similar to what we installed at the back of the theater building for
Yes.
handicap access?
Yes.
Okay,
Very similar to that.
okay.
So it's around the right, it's not easily visible from that
from
angle.
These angles. Maybe one more up, Shannon, sorry. Yeah, right there. That's where it entered.
Way to make that a ramp so people can.
Yeah, I loved the ramp. It had a nice look and meandering up there. But they said once they redid the elevations that it would just be too steep, and it would be it had to be several hundred feet to get from the parking lot up to that level.
Don't they need something like 12 to 1?
Yes.
No.
So it would be a very, very long ramp.
You know how the ADA community feels about a ramp versus a lift? Can we
One thing that I was going to say is when you come in, when you turn in and come around, it's very simple to have a sign there that says handicap parking, and then you see those, and then you see the lift. But no, I have no thoughts about it. I don't know anything. I don't know if you do, Doug, about preference over a ramp or a lift.
We also had the discussion of whether there should be handicap parking in the front of the building, so that would be all level, so it would be accessible if you want to go that way. I know we don't want too much parking blocking
No,
the
no,
building,
I'm
but
fine with the parking in the rear. The only thing is, you know, some people might have walkers. that- They're fine going up a ramp and prefer that rather than taking a lift. And
That elevation change looks like almost 10 feet. I mean, I'm counting 11 or
it's a
12
lot of
steps.
So
So you need 120 feet of ramp or something like that.
yeah, I don't know how far that goes to the right there where the bushes are. That's why I asked. But anyway, that's my one question about it. The roof looks good. I'm not, that's it. I do have.
As an alternative, you could have, if there is on-street parking, if you're going to do that, or very close by, you could have handicap spots out there in addition to this, which would accommodate people who are, you know,
You guys may remember this drawing,
right.
and what they had talked about, remember, is like right in this area on each side, have a couple spaces where people could pull in, and then you could get out and either assist someone in a wheelchair, or if you have your walker or whatever. I don't see any problem with having two choices of having the lift. This is in the front.
Okay.
It's in the front, so the drive would be to drop off to the book drop, or pick up your child who you've come to pick up, or handicap. But what they could have on each side is, like I say, a few handicap spots.
A ramp on the front would be easier because there's less elevation change.
yeah, there's really no ramp because it's level, yeah.
Yeah.
Raise something about that in the front, because I'm fine with that.
No, I'm not thrilled about parking in front of the building per
No.
se.
It would be short-term, I think, and also it would just be handicapped.
There's a lot of handicap registered cars apparently, and the spaces get used up quickly. I was thinking more in the terms of during the drive, on the driveway entrance, having 2 or 3 handicap spots there on the access road, if you will. And there, it's almost at the same level as the front door, and you could have a walkway for those people who can accommodate that without a wheelchair would be a different thing altogether, of course. But it's just a thought. I
Yeah,
prefer
and
to keep the,
I don't really have any information about it, Jack, because we don't have
I know.
a single handicap parking spot. And so
know,
people
I know.
who come to us don't usually come in wheelchairs, and those with walkers manage on their own.
You're right, you do.
So I don't have much experience with that, actually.
I mean, if council thinks it's a priority, we can ask them to put in a couple of handicap parking spots on the driveway in with the sidewalk to the front door.
This shouldn't stop the process of getting the construction drawings on and moving to the next step,
Yeah,
I wouldn't think. These are more details, not totally detailed, but site plan issues that can be handled later on.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the
Yeah,
will of council, we can move forward with
Yeah,
that.
let's just ask them. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only, unless someone has other issues regarding the general exterior design and so forth.
I think they nailed it pretty good. What do you think?
Back to us of when we think there's.
I have two things that I would like to mention, and one is we had asked for a family bathroom. I don't see that here. It's possible that it could be, a room could be arranged near the toilets or something, but I think a family bathroom would be very good for our community. We have so many young people, and we have dads bringing their kids in, and moms bringing their little sons, et cetera. The other thing I don't really see is computers, like a series of computers. And I'm not sure if in this drawing, up there you see the workroom, and then you see bookkeeper, director, and then there are those 3 little black lines at the end across from where it says closet.
Yeah,
There are those 3. I don't know if those represent computers, but I am concerned that we have, right now we have 1 and it's ridiculously insufficient. So I don't know if we can just put them in, I don't know if there are places to put them or if they're
Audrey,
mean, we
just
have
to
a
be
lot-
clear, by whom are these computers to be used?
Library patrons.
Okay,
Yeah.
people who come in who
People
don't bring
come
their
in
own,
and
okay.
don't- Exactly, or people who maybe do not have connectivity at home, or their computer doesn't work, or whatever.
Yeah, so one of those three is probably like a circulation, like look up with your book, and the other two could be for public use. We talked about, maybe we have Chromebooks that could be loaned out and used instead of having a computer bank. But I think we could also easily add just a couple more desks or
Right,
chairs
yeah,
there.
but that's why I say we could have checkout at Circ Desk. You could check out a computer, a laptop or something. It wouldn't leave the building. You could use it while you were there.
Sounds fine to me.
That
Is that
sounds like a
more in
good
the
idea to me.
furnishings sort of thing that is not part of this plan? I understand the need, but
Right, well, I mean, right now, we're looking at walls, basically, and where they are and what they are. And we haven't gotten to couches, chairs, desks, et cetera. But the one thing that I don't see that would really make a difference is if we had a family restroom.
So define family restroom for me.
Well, that means that usually it's an enclosed, small, and it has like a koala or, a changing station.
Changing, right.
Gentleman can take his daughter in there, a woman could take her son, whatever. I think people are a little uncomfortable taking, I think if a man came in the ladies' room with his son, I think most ladies would not like it.
The room we were looking at, if we're all agreeable on it, is behind those bathrooms and then off of the children's room. There's a closet right there. That might be room 116. I can't see it very well. But yeah,
119.
119. It's close to the utilities, and it's right off the children's room. It seems like a good place for it.
Is it big enough?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Okay.
I had asked a question, what you would see walking in the front door, and someone answered, and I don't remember what the answer was.
Yeah, that's a half wall right there. When you first walk in, so they have a table right behind that half wall, but again, we haven't got to the FF&E, so that could be something different.
Where would this, I'll call it, maybe not using the right term, the circulation desk be, or the,
It's
Right
right in the
smack in the
middle.
middle.
You know how the building is kind of across, it's
yeah.
right smack in the middle.
okay.
I mean, overall, I think the changes they made from the first draft were really good in combination with all the comments, and as most people may walk in the back door, because that's where the parking is, but for the people who
Right.
walk in the front, I
Right.
wondered what they would see. So this is going to be 3.5, 4 feet high, something like that?
Right, exactly.
A partition
And-
more than a wall.
Right, and you can kind of see it in the picture, so if you scroll to the first picture.
Yep.
Yeah, you can kind of see that half
Okay.
wall in there.
Yeah, if you look in the window, you see that there, and it's
Okay,
curved.
thanks.
Wait, any other feedback, or are we good to give this to the architects and move forward?
When we give it to them, when do we expect to see another work product from them?
I will confirm that date, but we originally were looking to bid this in October, so
Right.
that's real soon.
Okay, I know, that's why I'm asking.
Would we need to see a work product? I mean, they're talking about construction drawings here
Yeah,
now.
we'll have to see the construction drawings before they go to
But I mean, I'm not sure what value add we'd have on a construction drawings level.
I think we ought to at least
yeah,
eyeball it.
they'll be provided to you. So
Okay.
And that's the last step before they actually go ask somebody, what are you going to charge us to build this?
yeah, exactly. We may need to do some permitting based on how much ground they disturb, but we told them to avoid that as much as possible. But that could also be as we're bidding it. So anyway, we'll hopefully be able to get bids out in October. That's been the
You
plan
say
all along.
permitting, that's local permitting,
Our
yes?
permitting, yeah.
Us.
Yes. So ask ourselves if it's okay. And we have been in touch with Mike and Alex, who are usually the bad guys on that. So they're aware, and they've helped guide them along so we don't run into any issues.
Their checks are in the mail. Just kidding.
Okay. Anything else? Council?
Good, no?
No? Okay. I guess you have what you need, right?
Yes. We're good.
Okay.
Do you all have what you need
Yep.
right
we'll
now?
We're
look
good.
for the
Thank you.
drawings, thanks. Yeah, and if there's anything new that develops with the handicap, let us know. All right, discuss potential speed change on Airport Road.
So included in the packet was an email from the town manager of Southern Pines. Reagan was interested to see if we wanted to join in a resolution requesting that NCDOT reduce the speed limit from 45 miles per hour to 35 miles per hour. Part of that is in the Southern Pines jurisdiction and their ETJ, and part of it is in Pinehurst corporate limits. So there's a map, if you scroll down, it's not all that helpful. It just shows that the whole thing is 45 miles per hour. When I drove it this weekend, I felt, maybe near the traffic circle in the populated area, it could be lowered. And then again, closer to the schools at Sandhills Community College and O'Neill, it might justify being 35. But I kind of felt in the middle, 45
Yeah, I
is probably
know.
appropriate.
I drive it all the time. Why did they bring this forward? I'm just curious.
I don't know any more than the email that was included.
It's a reasonably comfortable 45-mile-an-hour drive. I mean, of course, during school hours and so forth, that's a whole different thing, but,
Yeah, but it's already reduced.
It's
then.
already reduced then, yeah.
So
How far up Airport Road do we go, Pinehurst?
there's a dotted line on that map.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see that one.
okay, you gotta go
Down.
down left.
It's kind of the boundary of Pinehurst Trace and number 6.
Yeah, Shannon, can you just go down slightly? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that dotted line. Past Turner Road.
Oh.
Turner.
So we are.
So you see where Midland Country Club is there? The entrance to Midland Country Club is the last entrance that's within the Village of Pinehurst jurisdiction, on the right side.
Well, it comes down the south side there and then goes north, where you see the dotted line go back north. Encompasses Pinehurst Trace and number 6, and there's another neighborhood in there, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's way down there.
I think it may be appropriate to say not much of this is in Pinehurst. You guys do what you want.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a reason to
By the time
oppose
you
it,
get
but I
down
don't know a reason for us to, other than certainly saying we don't object to them asking, requesting. They have to go to NCDOT, and then NCDOT is going to do a study,
Oh, they'll have an engineer look at it.
an engineer look at it. Now, don't they usually?
Surprised if the NCDOT is very agreeable to this, to tell you the truth. Well, we'll see.
Isn't what they focus on in these instances is fatalities on a road when they deal with speed?
I did talk to Chief Webb. Certainly in our jurisdiction, the number of fatalities, which I don't know if there were any, but accidents and traffic citations didn't necessarily justify lowering the speed limit.
The big issue on this road, and I've had this a couple times, is that the sight line coming out of the side roads within the Pinehurst jurisdiction are really terrible. And you can barely see cars coming at 45 miles an hour, to tell you the truth. Now, that's a sight line issue. That's not a road issue.
And there's some interesting angles of intersection as well.
Right, exactly.
As a proposal, we could say, we could agree that we don't oppose any changes that NCDOT might make, and we can ask them to look at clearing sight lines or doing something to.
By the time people get into Pinehurst, if they're coming southbound, they got to be starting to slow down anyway because they have to come to a stop at
Yes.
Midland Road.
I agree. There's natural slowing down as you come into the village. And I shouldn't admit to this, but I was going, when I was driving comfortably in the middle section there, I was at 55 when I looked down. I was like, oh, whoops. But I felt like that was a comfortable speed because there's not much out there.
Well, go back to what you were suggesting, a moment ago, what you wanted to do.
Yeah, tell Southern Pines that we agree not to oppose anything if they suggest it with NCDOT, and then we can ask them to look at potential sightline issues in the village corporate limits.
I'm fine with that.
I would also say that although It's possible that NCDOT may still want to redo the intersection of Midland Road and Airport Road as part of that other thing, but
Different issue. This is.
No. what I'm saying is that it may come back to us anyway, but I would not oppose Southern Pines doing what they felt was.
I think, Doug, I think you have the right idea. We do not oppose it, and, and I don't know how to phrase, we're not joining on, but we're just not opposing it, so to speak.
And I can wordsmith it, but, you know, most of it is not in our jurisdiction, so we.
Yeah, maybe if we pinpoint what is, because I think it looks, visually, it looks like about 80% of it isn't in our jurisdiction, but I don't know for sure that. I guess the key would be, what does the community college and the O'Neill School feel about this? Because they're the ones coming in and out of that road all the time.
Yeah, and that's certainly the biggest concern, I would think, is around the schools down there, which is all completely Southern Pines.
That green is municipality of Pinehurst.
Yeah, but for the record, I don't support lowering the speed limit, and we'll see what goes on. So I don't think we should sign on. I'm not going to make a commitment to fight them or not fight them or anything else. If the NCDOT comes with it in the spectrum of priorities,
Yeah.
this is about right here. Okay, so anyway, I don't see a need to change, and I'll reserve any other comments unless we need to make comments.
Okay. All right, well, Doug, I think you got your
Yeah, I feel
mission.
comfortable moving forward.
Okay. All right. We're now, someone makes a motion, we will adjourn our meeting, and I think, and then go to a closed session.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I move to recess the work session and enter into a closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.1.1A4 to discuss matters related to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body, including agreement on a tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by a public body in negotiations, or to discuss matters relating to military installations closure or realignment, and NCGS 143-318.1.1A5 to establish and/or instruct the public body, staff, or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken on or on behalf of the public body in negotiating, I, the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, or exchange, or 2, the amount of compensation and other material terms of an employment contract or proposed employment contract.
For a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion adopted. We will enter a closed session shortly. Those